Sterile rich man finds begging child crying from hunger and takes him in as a son. Harrison Bennett abruptly stopped his imported car upon spotting a small, huddled figure on the sidewalk. The boy, about 7 years old, was crying desperately, his thin hands pressed against his empty stomach. The businessman had just left the clinic where he received the most painful confirmation of his life. He could never have children. The tests were conclusive about his sterility. At 42, he saw his dreams of fatherhood definitively shatter. "Please, sir, I'm very hungry," whispered the child as Harrison approached. The boy had messy brown hair and large eyes that reflected a deep sadness. His clothes were dirty and torn, showing he had been living on the streets for days. "How long has it been since you ate?" asked Harrison, crouching beside the boy. "I don't know, sir." "A long time." Harrison felt a tightness in his chest. This situation touched something very deep in his heart, still wounded by the medical news. "What's your name?" "Toby, sir. Toby Miller." "Where are your parents, Toby?" The boy lowered his head, tears falling more intensely. "My mum. She left. Said she'd come back, but it's been many days." Harrison looked around. The busy street in Times Square was bustling with hurried people who passed by, completely ignoring the child's situation. "And your father?" "I never knew my father, sir." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Harrison felt an inexplicable connection with that abandoned boy. Perhaps it was the cruel timing of fate, to find an orphaned child right after discovering he would never be a father. "Come with me, Toby. Let's get something to eat." The boy's eyes lit up for the first time. "Really, sir?" "Really." Harrison took Toby to a nearby restaurant. During the meal, he watched as the child devoured each bite with touching gratitude. Toby ate slowly, savoring each morsel as if it were the last. "Toby, tell me more about your mother. What was she like?" The boy stopped eating for a moment. "She was pretty, sir. She had long hair and a very beautiful smile, but sometimes she got very sad and cried in secret." "Did she work?" "Sometimes she would go out at night and only come back in the morning. She said she needed to work to support us." Harrison realized there was much more to this story. The child spoke with a maturity that didn't match his age. "Toby, where did you live?" "In a little house in the Bronx, but I left a while ago." "Why?" "After my mom left, a very angry man showed up. He yelled and said if I didn't leave, he'd hurt me." Harrison's heart tightened even more. What kind of life had this child had? "And you've been on the street since then?" Toby nodded, his eyes welling up again. "I have nowhere to go, sir." Harrison made a decision that would change both their lives forever. "Toby, how about you come to my house today? You can take a bath, sleep in a real bed." The boy looked at him with disbelief. "You would do that for me?" "I would." Harrison's house was a mansion in the upscale Upper East Side. Toby was wide-eyed, seeing the electronic gate, the well-kept garden, and the imposing structure of the residence. "Wow, it's so big," commented the child, impressed. Mrs. Martha, the housekeeper who had worked for Harrison for 15 years, greeted the pair with surprise. "Mr. Harrison, who is this boy?" "Mrs. Martha, this is Toby. He's going to stay with us for a while." The 65-year-old woman looked at Toby with maternal affection. Martha had never married or had children, dedicating her life to domestic work. "My God, what a skinny child. Let's give you a bath and find some clean clothes for you, my angel." Toby was still looking around in astonishment. He had never seen such a luxurious house. "Mr. Harrison, why are you being so good to me?" Harrison didn't know how to answer. He himself didn't fully understand his motivations. Sometimes life puts people in our path who we need to help, Toby. After the bath, Martha managed to find some clothes left over from old donations. Toby looked like a completely different child when he came down clean and properly dressed. "You look very handsome, my dear," said Martha, combing the boy's hair. Harrison watched the scene and felt a strange emotion. It was as if a missing piece in his life was finally falling into place. "Toby, are you still hungry?" I'm always hungry, Mr. Harrison. Martha prepared a special dinner. Toby ate politely, but Harrison could tell he was trying hard not to show how hungry he was. You can eat as much as you want, Toby. There's plenty of food here. Thank you, Mr. Harrison. You are the nicest person I've ever met. That night, Harrison prepared the guest room for Toby. The child was amazed by the soft bed, the clean sheets, and the cozy environment. Can I really sleep here, Mr. Harrison? Yes, you can. This is your room now. My room. That's right. Toby hugged Harrison tightly. Thank you so much. I promise I'll be a good boy. Harrison felt his eyes well up. How long had it been since he felt so needed, so important to someone? In the middle of the night, Harrison was awakened by screams coming from Toby's room. He ran there and found the boy having nightmares, screaming and thrashing in bed. Toby! Toby, wake up! The child woke up frightened, his face bathed in cold sweat. Mr. Harrison? I dreamed that the bad man had come back to get me. What bad man, Toby? The man who always showed up at our house. He was very angry with my mother and me. Harrison sat on the edge of the bed and held the boy's hand. You don't need to be afraid. You're safe here. You won't send me away? Never. I promise. Toby gradually calmed down and went back to sleep. Harrison stayed for a few minutes watching the child's serene face, wondering what traumas he carried. The next morning, Harrison decided to take Toby to buy clothes and other necessary items. At the mall, the child was impressed by everything. Can I choose any clothes, Mr. Harrison? Yes, you can, Toby. The boy chose only the essentials, always asking about prices and worrying about not spending too much. Toby, you don't need to worry about money. Choose whatever you want. But I don't want to take advantage of your kindness, Mr. Harrison. Harrison was touched by the child's consideration. Toby showed a politeness and maturity that contrasted with his life on the streets. At lunch, while they were eating, Toby asked a question that left Harrison thoughtful. Mr. Harrison, why don't you have children? Harrison swallowed hard. How to explain to a child that he had just discovered his inability to be a father? Sometimes things don't happen as we plan, Toby. Did you want to have children? Very much. Then why don't you adopt a child? There are many children who need a family. The innocence of that question struck Harrison like lightning. Toby had no idea he was verbalizing exactly what was going through the businessman's mind. That's a good question, Toby. If you adopted a child, would you be like a real father? Yes, I would. Love doesn't depend on blood. Toby smiled. Then can I pretend you're my dad? Harrison felt his heart race. Why would you want that? Because you take care of me. You give me food. You protect me. That's everything a father does, right? Harrison could barely control his emotion. Yes, it is, Toby. So can I call you Dad? You can. Toby smiled radiantly. Thank you, Dad. That word sounded like music to Harrison's ears. For the first time in his life, someone had called him Dad. In the following days, Harrison and Toby established a routine. The businessman would go to work in the morning, and Toby would stay with Martha, who proved to be wonderful company for the child. Mrs. Martha, can I help in the kitchen? Toby would ask every day. Of course, my angel. I'll teach you how to make a delicious cake. Toby learned everything with impressive ease. Within a few days, he already knew the entire household routine and even helped with chores. That boy is an angel, Mr. Harrison, Martha commented. I've never seen such a polite and helpful child. Harrison had also noticed Toby's exceptional intelligence. The boy memorized numbers, names, and routines with surprising ease. Toby, have you ever been to school? My mom taught me to read and write a little, but I never went to a school. How about we start looking for a school for you? Toby's eyes lit up. I can study? Of course you can. Every boy has a right to an education. Thank you, Dad. I promise I'll study very hard. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. Harrison began the process of looking for the best school for Toby. He wanted the child to have the best educational opportunities. During one of the school visits, the principal asked a question that made Harrison uncomfortable. "Mr. Bennett, what exactly is your relationship with Toby? We need the proper documentation to complete the enrollment." Harrison realized there was a problem. He had no legal document authorizing him to make decisions for Toby. He's in my temporary care." "I understand, but for enrollment we need documentation from the parents or legal guardians." That situation left Harrison worried. He would need to formalize Toby's situation if he wanted the boy to have access to education and basic services. That night, Harrison talked to Toby about the need to officially search for his mother. "Toby, we need to try to find your mother to sort out your situation." The boy became visibly distressed. "But what if she doesn't want me to stay here with you? If she shows up, we'll talk to her, but you need documents to go to school." "Dad, I don't want to leave here. I feel safe here." "I don't want you to leave either, Toby. We'll find a way to work this out." Harrison decided to hire a private investigator to try to locate Toby's mother. He needed to know more about the child's past to make the right decisions. The investigator, Jim Henderson, was an experienced 50-year-old man who had worked many similar cases. "Mr. Bennett, I need all the information Toby can provide about his mother and where they lived." Harrison spoke with Toby, who provided details about the place they lived in the Bronx. "Toby, do you remember your mother's name?" "Sarah Miller." "And do you remember anything else about her?" Toby became thoughtful. "She had a small scar on her forehead. She said she fell when she was a child." "Anything else?" "Sometimes she talked about a sister who lived far away. She called her Aunt Rachel." Jim noted all the information and promised to begin the investigation immediately. While they awaited the investigation results, Harrison and Toby strengthened their bond daily. The businessman discovered that having a child at home completely changed his routine and perspective on life. "Dad, can I go to work with you one day?" asked Toby. "Would you like to see my company?" "Very much. I want to know all about what you do." Harrison decided to take Toby to see his office. The child was impressed with the commercial building and the bustle of the employees. "Wow, so many people work here." "Many, Toby. Our company handles the transportation of goods across the whole country." Toby asked smart questions about how the business worked, showing genuine interest. "Dad, when I grow up, can I work here too?" Harrison smiled. "If you want to, of course." "Then I'll study hard to be smart like you." The employees were surprised to see Harrison with a child. He had never brought anyone from his family to the company. "Mr. Harrison, who is this boy?" asked Janet, his secretary of 10 years. "This is Toby. He is living with me." Janet looked curious but asked no further questions. She knew Harrison was a private person. During lunch, Toby made an observation that left Harrison thoughtful. "Dad, why does everyone keep calling you sir and talking quietly around you?" "That's how they behave at work, Toby. But at home you're different. You smile more and talk with me." Harrison realized that Toby's presence was changing not only his personal life, but also his perspective on relationships in general. "You're right, Toby. Maybe I need to be less serious at work." "You look nicer when you smile, Dad." That innocent observation touched Harrison deeply. How long had it been since he had smiled genuinely? That week, Jim called with the first information from the investigation. "Mr. Bennett, I found some clues about Sarah Miller. I managed to locate the address where she lived with Toby in the Bronx." "And is she still there?" "No. The neighbors confirmed she disappeared about 2 months ago. She left the house abandoned with some overdue bills. Do the neighbors know what happened?" According to them, Sarah had been acting strangely in the last few weeks. She would leave home for long periods and always came back very nervous. "And about Toby? They said that after his mother's disappearance, a man showed up at the house looking for her. When he didn't find her, he started threatening Toby, saying the child couldn't stay there." Harrison grew worried. "Were you able to identify this man?" "I'm still investigating, but it seems Sarah was involved with questionable people." "Keep investigating, Jim. I need to know the whole truth." That night, Harrison decided to talk to Toby about the discoveries. "Toby, the investigator found the house where you lived with your mother." The boy grew tense. And my mom, was she there? No, Toby, she wasn't there, but the neighbors confirmed you did live there. Dad, I'm scared of that man who showed up there. He was very bad. Can you tell me more about him? Toby looked visibly frightened. He always yelled at my mom. Sometimes she would cry after he left. What did he look like? Tall, strong, and he had a very deep voice. My mom was very afraid of him. Did he ever hurt you, Toby? Not directly, but he said that if I told anyone anything, he would hurt my mom and me. Harrison felt anger toward that unknown man who had terrorized Toby. Toby, you are safe now. That man won't bother you anymore. How can you be sure, Dad? Because I am going to protect you, always. Toby hugged Harrison tightly. I love you, Dad. I love you too, Toby. It was the first time they had exchanged those words, and both felt the depth of that moment. The next day, Jim called again with more disturbing information. Mr. Bennett, I've discovered more details about Sarah Miller's situation. What did you find? It appears she was involved with illegal gambling. She owed a considerable sum to dangerous people. Does that explain the man who threatened Toby? Most likely. These groups often pressure families when they can't collect debts directly from the debtor. And what about the sister Toby mentioned? I'm still looking for Rachel Miller. There are no records of her in New York City. Keep investigating, Jim. I need to know if Toby has any relatives who might claim custody. Harrison was growing increasingly attached to Toby, and the thought of losing him terrified him. That week, an unexpected event changed the course of the situation. Harrison received a call from a woman who identified herself as a social worker. Mr. Bennett, my name is Susan Crawford. We received a report that you are keeping a child in your home without legal authorization. Harrison was alarmed. A report from whom? I cannot reveal the source, but I need to make a visit to assess Toby Miller's situation. When? Later today, if possible. Harrison hung up, worried. Who could have made that report? He called for Toby, who was playing in the yard with Martha. Toby, come here, I need to talk to you. What is it, Dad? You look worried. A social worker is coming here today to talk to us. Why? Someone made a report saying you shouldn't be here. Toby was terrified. Are they going to take me away? I won't let that happen, Toby, but we need to be prepared to answer questions. What kind of questions? About how you got here, how I'm taking care of you, if you're happy. Dad, can I tell the truth? Always, Toby. Always tell the truth. Susan Crawford arrived in the late afternoon. She was a serious woman in her 40s with a rigid professional demeanor. Mr. Bennett, I need to speak with Toby alone first. Harrison was nervous but agreed. Toby is in the yard. You can go there. Susan spent almost an hour talking with Toby. Harrison stayed in the living room trying to imagine what questions she was asking. Martha was visibly tense. Mr. Harrison, what if they take our boy away? It won't happen, Martha. Toby is well cared for here. When Susan returned to the living room, her expression was neutral. Mr. Bennett, Toby seems well adjusted and cared for, but his situation is irregular. I know that. I'm trying to make it legal. Do you have any documentation proving your authorization to care for the child? No. Toby came to me in a situation of abandonment on the street. I understand. But legally, I need to place him with a foster family while we search for his relatives. Harrison felt his world collapse. Susan, can I ask for more time to resolve the situation? How much time? 15 days. I've hired an investigator to find his mother. Susan was thoughtful. Toby clearly expressed his wish to stay here. That counts in your favor. I'll give you 10 days to legalize the situation, but the child cannot leave the house or start school until we resolve this. After Susan left, Toby ran to hug Harrison. Dad, did she say I can stay? For now, yes, Toby. But we need to resolve your situation quickly. What do I need to do? Just keep being the wonderful boy you are. That night, Harrison called Jim urgently. Jim, I need all the information you can get about Sarah Miller in the next 10 days. What happened? The social worker was here. Toby could be taken away if we don't legalize the situation. I understand. I'll intensify the investigation. Is there any chance that Sarah might be dead? It's a possibility we can't rule out considering the type of people she got involved with. Harrison swallowed hard. If Sarah were dead, Toby would officially be an orphan. And if that's the case? Then you could file for adoption, since the child has no other known relatives. Let's hope you find answers quickly, Jim. The next few days were tense. Harrison could barely work, worried about the possibility of losing Toby. "Dad, you're different," observed Toby. "Are you worried about me?" "A little, Toby, but everything will be okay. If they take me away, I'll run away and come back home. That won't be necessary, Toby. You are my son now, and parents protect their children." On the 6th day, Jim called with an important discovery. "Mr. Bennett, I found Rachel Miller." "Sarah's sister?" "Exactly. She lives in Philadelphia and didn't know Sarah had disappeared. Does she want to keep Toby?" "I spoke with her on the phone. Rachel has 4 children of her own and is going through financial difficulties. She said she's not in a position to care for Toby at the moment." "And about Sarah?" "Rachel hasn't spoken to her sister in over 2 years. She said Sarah got involved with the wrong people and cut off contact with the family. Is that good or bad for our situation?" "Good. If the closest relative can't care for the child, it makes an adoption process easier." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. Harrison decided to travel to Philadelphia to speak with Rachel Miller in person. "Toby, I need to travel for 2 days to resolve your situation." "Can I go with you, Dad?" "Not this time, Toby, but I promise I'll be back soon." "Do you really promise?" "I promise." The trip to Philadelphia was distressing. Harrison drove thinking about all the possibilities of what could happen. Rachel Miller lived in a simple house on the outskirts of the city. She was a 35-year-old woman, physically similar to the descriptions Toby gave of his mother. "Mr. Bennett, I'm Rachel. Thank you for coming all this way." "Thank you for having me, Rachel." The house was full of children running and playing. Rachel's husband worked as a mechanic, and the family struggled financially. "Tell me about Toby. How is he?" "Toby is a wonderful child. Smart, polite, affectionate. Just like Sarah when she was little." "What was your relationship like?" Rachel sighed. "Sarah was always troubled. Since she was a teenager, she got involved with the wrong men. I tried to help several times, but she wouldn't listen to me." "And about Toby? Did you know about him?" "I knew. Sarah called me when he was born, but then she disappeared. I tried to keep in touch, but she changed numbers constantly." "Rachel, Toby needs a family. I would like to adopt him, but I need to know if you have any objection." Rachel looked at her own children playing in the backyard. "Mr. Bennett, I would love to take care of Toby. He's my nephew. But look at our situation. We can barely support our own children." "I understand perfectly. Toby deserves a better life than I could offer him. If you can give him love, education, and stability, you have my blessing. Could you sign a document stating you're unable to care for him?" "Of course. I'll do anything to ensure Toby's well-being." Harrison returned to New York City with the document signed by Rachel and a feeling of relief. Toby was anxiously waiting for him. "Dad, you're back. I promised I'd come back. How was the trip?" "Everything worked out, Toby. Your Aunt Rachel sends you a hug and said you're very lucky to have found a family that loves you." "Doesn't she want me to live with her?" "She has 4 children of her own and is struggling. She wants you to stay here with us." Toby hugged Harrison tightly. "So can I really be your son? Let's make it official, Toby." On the 8th day, Jim called with the news Harrison both feared and hoped for. "Mr. Bennett, we've found Sarah Miller." "Where is she?" "At Mercy General Hospital. She's been admitted for 3 weeks in critical condition." "What happened to her?" "Overdose. She's in a medically induced coma." Harrison felt a mix of sadness and relief. Sarah was alive, but in a situation that confirmed Toby could not return to her. "What's the prognosis?" "The doctors aren't optimistic. Even if she recovers, she'll have severe after effects." "And Toby's situation?" With the mother incapacitated and the aunt unable, the path is clear for adoption. Harrison went to the hospital to see Sarah in person. She was a young woman, only 28, but looked much older due to the ravages of drugs. Seeing her there, connected to machines, Harrison felt compassion. That woman had given birth to Toby, and for that he would be eternally grateful to her. "Sarah, if you can hear me, I want you to know Toby is safe and loved. I will take care of him as if he were my own son." The next day, Harrison scheduled a meeting with Susan Crawford to present all the gathered documentation. "Mr. Bennett, I see you've managed to gather quite a bit of information about Toby's situation." "Yes, the mother is hospitalized in critical condition. The aunt is unable to care for him, and Toby clearly expresses the desire to stay with me." "Are you interested in formally adopting Toby?" "Very interested. I need to make it clear it will be a long process. There are evaluations, interviews, home visits. I'm prepared for any necessary procedure." "And Toby, how does he feel about this? How about you ask him?" Susan called Toby in to talk. "Toby, Mr. Harrison would like to adopt you. Do you know what that means?" "It means he'll be my dad forever." "That's right. Then I really want to." "Are you sure? He's already my dad in my heart. It just needs to be on paper." Susan smiled for the first time since Harrison had met her. "Then let's begin the adoption process." The following months were a time of intense preparation. Harrison had to undergo psychological evaluations, interviews, preparatory courses for adoptive parents. Toby, in turn, flourished during this period. He began studying with a private tutor, preparing to enter formal school. "Dad, I learned how to do a hard sum today," said Toby proudly. "What sum?" 42 divided by 6. "And what does it equal?" 7. "Very good, Toby. You're learning fast." "It's because I want to be smart like you." During one of the social worker's visits, Toby made an observation that deeply touched everyone. "Toby, are you happy here?" asked Susan. "Very happy. Before I didn't know what it was to have a family. Now I do." "What's it like to have a family?" "It's having someone who worries when you're sad, who is happy when you're joyful, who teaches you new things and protects you when you're scared." "And does Mr. Harrison do all that?" "Yes, he does. He also gives me love. My mom loved me, but she was always sad. Here everyone smiles more." Martha, who was present, couldn't hold back her tears. "This boy is a gift from God," she murmured. During this period, Harrison also underwent deep transformations. He became closer to his employees, more smiley, more optimistic. "Mr. Harrison, you seem different," commented Janet, his secretary. "How so?" "More human, happier. Toby brought joy into my life." "It shows. You speak of him with a sparkle in your eyes." Harrison realized that having Toby had filled a void in his life he never knew existed. 6 months later, the big day arrived. The judge called Harrison and Toby for the final adoption hearing. "Toby Miller, do you want Harrison Bennett to be your legal father?" "Yes, Your Honor." "Why?" "Because he already is my dad. He takes care of me, teaches me things, protects me, and loves me." "And you, Harrison Bennett, are you prepared to be Toby's father for the rest of your life?" "I am, Your Honor. Toby is the best thing that ever happened to my life." "Then by this document, I declare that Toby Miller shall now be named Toby Miller Bennett, the legally adopted son of Harrison Bennett." Toby jumped into Harrison's arms. "Now I'm really your son, Dad." "You always were, Toby. You always were." Martha, who was present, cried with emotion. "My boys," she said, hugging them both. Leaving the courthouse, Toby asked a question that surprised Harrison. "Dad, now that I'm officially your son, can I change one thing?" "What do you want to change?" "I want you to also call me son, not just Toby." "Why, my son?" Toby beamed radiantly upon hearing that word. "Because I always wanted someone to call me son." Harrison knelt to be at Toby's eye level. "Toby, you are my son, my beloved, smart, brave son, and I am so proud to be your father." "I'm proud to be your son too, Dad." 2 years later, Toby was completely settled into his new life. He studied at one of the best private schools in New York City and excelled in all subjects. "Dad, I got first place in the school's math competition," announced Toby, proudly showing his medal. "Congratulations, my son. I'm so proud of you. The teacher said I have a knack for numbers. Maybe you can work with me at the company when you grow up. Or I could study to be a doctor and help other people." Harrison smiled. Toby had developed a very strong sense of compassion, always wanting to help those in need. "Whatever you choose, my son, I will support you." During a routine hospital visit to oversee a social project his company was developing, they passed the wing where Sarah was still hospitalized. "Dad, can I see my mother?" asked Toby. "Are you sure you want to do that, my son?" "I am. I want to show her that I'm okay." Sarah had survived, but was left with severe after effects. She couldn't speak or move on her own. "Hi, Mom." "Hi. It's me, Toby," the boy said, gently holding her hand. Sarah looked at Toby with recognition in her eyes. "I'm okay, Mom. I have a family now. This is my dad, Harrison. He takes very good care of me." A tear rolled down Sarah's face. "Mom, I forgive you for everything. I know you did the best you could at the time." Toby kissed his mother's forehead. "I'll keep visiting you, okay?" Harrison watched the scene with admiration. Toby, at 9 years old, showed impressive emotional maturity. Leaving the hospital, Toby was thoughtful. "Dad, can I help other kids who are in the situation I was in?" "What do you mean, my son?" "Abandoned kids who don't have a family. Can we do something for them?" Harrison was moved by his son's generosity. "How about we create a social project to help children in vulnerable situations?" "Really? We can do that?" "Of course. You can be my partner in this project." And so the Toby Institute was born, an organization Harrison created to help abandoned children find loving families. "Dad, what will our project be called? How about the Toby Institute?" "Why my name?" "Because you are proof that an abandoned child can find a family and be very happy." Harrison hugged Toby. "Thank you for stopping that day to help me, Dad. Thank you for changing my life for the better, my son." 5 years later, the Toby Institute had already helped over 100 children find adoptive families. Toby, now 14, was actively involved in the activities. "Dad, the child who arrived yesterday reminds me so much of how I was." "How so?" "He's scared, distrustful. He thinks no one will want to keep him forever." "And what did you tell him?" "That I used to think that too, but that there really are special people who know how to love truly. Like you? Like us, Dad. Like our family." During one of the adoption ceremonies the Institute organized, Toby gave a speech that moved everyone present. "My name is Toby Miller Bennett. 7 years ago, I was alone on the street, hungry and hopeless. Today, I have a family that loves me. I study at a good school, and I help other children find the happiness I found. The difference in my life was a man who stopped his car to help me. That man became my father, my hero, my role model in life. To the children here today waiting for a family, don't give up. There is someone special waiting to love you. And to the parents who are adopting, you are receiving a gift. Take good care of it." At the end of the speech, there wasn't a dry eye in the audience. Harrison went on stage and hugged Toby. "My son, you taught me that being a father isn't about fathering a child. It's about loving, protecting, educating, and being present. And you taught me that family isn't about blood, Dad. It's about love, affection, and care. Toby, you saved my life as much as I saved yours. How so, Dad? Before you, I was an empty man, focused only on work. You taught me to love, to smile, to see beauty in life. So we were a gift to each other, right, Dad?" "Exactly, my son, a gift to each other." At that moment, looking at Toby on stage, Harrison remembered the 7-year-old boy crying on the sidewalk. The transformation had been impressive in both of them. Toby had grown into a responsible, studious, and generous young man. He always kept the desire to help other people, especially children in vulnerable situations. "Dad, I've decided what I want to study in college." "What, my son?" "Psychology. I want to work with children who have experienced trauma like I did." "That's a beautiful choice, Toby. I want to give back all the help I received." "You already do, my son, every day by being the wonderful person you are." On the day of Toby's high school graduation, Harrison was in the front row, applauding proudly. "Toby Miller Bennett, class valedictorian," announced the principal. Toby went on stage for his graduation speech. "My fellow graduates, when I was 7 years old, I was alone and abandoned. Today, I graduate as our class valedictorian. This was only possible because someone believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself. My dad always told me it doesn't matter where we come from, but where we're going. Our story isn't defined by our past, but by our choices in the present. We go to university carrying dreams and hopes. Remember that each of you has the power to change someone's life, just as my life was changed. Thank you, Daddy, for stopping that day to help a scared little boy. Thank you for teaching me that love has no limits when it's true." Harrison cried with emotion. His son had become an exceptional young man. After the ceremony, father and son walked together through the school parking lot. "Dad, can I confess something to you?" "Of course, my son. Sometimes I'm afraid I'll wake up and find out all of this was a dream." "Why, Toby?" "Because my life is too good to be true. I have a father who loves me, a home, an education, opportunities. Toby, this is real. You deserve all this and much more." "How can you be so sure?" "Because you are a special person, my son. Kind, intelligent, generous. Any father would be lucky to have a son like you. Even though I'm not your biological son, Toby, you are my son in every way that matters. Biology is just genetics. Love is a daily choice, and I choose to love you every day of my life." Toby hugged Harrison tightly. "I also choose to love you every day, Dad." In those years, the Toby Institute grew and became a national reference in responsible adoption. Toby participated actively, even with his study schedule. "Oh, Dad, what if we expanded the Institute to other cities?" "That's an interesting idea, son. We could help even more children find families. Let's study that possibility." The Institute not only facilitated adoptions, but also offered psychological support for parents and children during the adjustment process. "Toby, you have very mature ideas for your age," commented Dr. Michael, the psychologist who worked at the Institute. "It's because I've lived the experience of being adopted firsthand. I know the fears and the difficulties. That experience makes you a very special person. My father always says our bad experiences only have value if they help other people." During his psychology degree, Toby continued working at the Institute and developed innovative methods to assist in the adoption process. "Professor, may I present my research project on late adoption?" Toby asked in one of his classes. "Of course, Toby. My research shows that older children have fewer chances of being adopted due to prejudice. I developed a protocol to prepare families for late adoption." "It's very interesting work. Do you have personal experience with the subject?" "I do. I was adopted at age 7. "That explains the depth of your research. Toby graduated in psychology with honors and specialized in child and family psychology. "Dad, I got an offer to work at a renowned clinic." "That's great, son, but I refused." "Why?" "I want to dedicate my time to our institute. I want to turn it into an even bigger organization." "Toby, you could have a brilliant career in clinical psychology." "My brilliant career is helping children find loving families like I found." Harrison was moved by his son's determination. "Then let's work together to grow the institute. Can we create a TV show to raise awareness about adoption?" "That's a bold idea, son. Finding Family, a show that shares real stories of successful adoption." "I like the idea. Let's develop the project." The show Finding Family became a national success. Toby and Harrison appeared as hosts, telling their own stories and those of other families. "Good evening, America. I'm Toby Miller." "And I'm Harrison Bennett. We are father and son by adoption. Tonight we'll tell the story of a special family formed through love." The show moved the entire country and inspired thousands of families to consider adoption. "Toby, did you ever imagine your story would inspire so many people?" a journalist asked during an interview. "I never imagined. I just wanted other children to have the same luck I had." "And what was your luck?" "Finding a father who loved me from day one, even though I was a stranger to him." "Harrison, what's it like seeing your son become this inspiring person?" "It's the greatest fulfillment of my life. Toby taught me that true love transforms everything." 10 years later, the Toby Institute had spread across the entire country. Toby, now a 27-year-old man, was nationally recognized as an adoption specialist. "Son, you've built something wonderful," said Harrison, looking over the Institute's annual report. "We built it, Dad. None of this would be possible without you. Over 1,000 children have already found families through our work, and each one represents a love story like ours." Toby had married Megan, a psychologist he met during college, who shared his passion for helping children. "Toby, Megan, I have a surprise for you," said Harrison during a family dinner. "What surprise, Dad?" "I've decided to retire and pass full leadership of the Institute to you." "Dad, are you sure?" "I am. You are the future of the Institute. I'll keep helping, but as an advisor. Thank you for your trust, Dad." "Toby, you gave my life purpose. Now it's your turn to lead." That night, Toby and Megan talked about plans for the Institute's future. "Toby, what about creating an international adoption exchange program?" "How so?" "Brazilian families adopting children from other countries and vice versa. That's an interesting idea. Let's look into it. We could also develop an app to connect families and children more efficiently." "Megan, you're brilliant. That's why I married you. And you are the most generous man I know. That's why I married you." A year later, Toby and Megan announced they were expecting their first child. "Dad, you're going to be a grandfather," announced Toby, beaming. Harrison cried with emotion. "My first grandchild. Dad, I want you to know this baby will grow up knowing the beautiful story of the grandpa who adopted a boy from the street, and will grow up in a family full of love, just like you did. If it's a boy, we'll name him Harrison." "Toby, you don't have to—" "I want to, Dad. I want your name to live on in the family. And if it's a girl, Martha, in honor of our dear Martha." Martha, now 80 years old, still worked with the family, but only part-time. "My boy is having a baby," she would say, crying with joy. "Martha, you're going to be the most involved grandma in the world," Toby joked. "I'll teach him all the recipes I taught you. And all the stories too. Especially the story of how an abandoned boy became a wonderful man." 9 months later, Harrison Toby Miller Bennett was born, a healthy baby who brought even more joy to the family. "Dad, meet your grandson," said Toby, placing the baby in Harrison's arms. "He's perfect," whispered Harrison, moved. "He'll grow up surrounded by so much love. Just like you did, my son. The difference is he'll have you from birth. He'll have the luck I didn't have. Toby, you did have it. You had it from age 7, and that made all the difference." "That's true, Dad. It made all the difference." In that moment, looking at his grandson in his arms, Harrison reflected on the incredible journey he had lived. From a lonely, sterile man, he had become a father, a grandfather, and the creator of an organization that changed the lives of thousands of children. "Toby, what about telling our story in a book?" "Our story. The story of how a sterile businessman found an abandoned boy, and both discovered the true meaning of family." "I like the idea, Dad. It could inspire others. And the proceeds could go to the Institute. The Boy on the Sidewalk, how about that title?" "Perfect, my son." 2 years later, The Boy on the Sidewalk became a national bestseller. The true story of Harrison and Toby moved millions of readers and inspired countless adoptions. "Toby, our book has been #1 in sales for 6 months, and the Institute has received over 5 million in donations because of the book. That means we can open branches in 10 more cities and create the scholarship program for adopted youth. Toby, are you proud of the journey we've traveled?" "Very proud, Dad. From a boy crying on the street to a family that helps other families form. It all started when I decided to stop the car that day. And everything changed when you decided to love me as a son. It was the best decision of my life, Toby." "Mine too, Dad. Mine too." On that late afternoon, father and son walked through the garden of the house where Toby grew up. Little Harrison. Toby played on the lawn under the watchful eye of Martha. "Dad, thank you for saving me. Thank you for saving me, my son. We saved each other. And now we save other families through our work. That is our life's mission, Dad. As long as there are children needing love and families wanting to love, we will be here. Always together. Always together, my son." The sun set, painting the sky gold, enveloping that special family in a warm light that symbolized the journey of love, overcoming, and hope they had built together. End of story. Now tell us what you thought of Harrison and Toby's story. Do you believe love can truly transform lives as it did for them? Share your honest opinion in the comments with sincere words. Don't forget to leave your like, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other heart-touching emotional stories.